Chosen one, this message you are about to hear is a divine revelation from the throne room of heaven. If your eyes are on this word right now, it is not by accident. God himself orchestrated this moment to reach you. This is a correction, confirmation, and a call. You have stepped into a new season, a season where you no longer run after anyone, where you no longer beg for attention, where you no longer shrink to be chosen. You stand where God has positioned you, not beneath, not behind, but set apart. Hear this clearly. You do not need to reach out to this person anymore. You do not need to text first, create excuses to show up, or monitor their every move on social media. God is working in both hearts, and when the time is right, they will be the ones to reach out. Not because you pushed, not because you chased, but because God stirred something inside them that they can no longer ignore. This is not wishful thinking. This is divine orchestration. This is a structure. This is an order. This is destiny. Every time you feel the urge to send a message, remember this. God does not need you to rescue the story he is currently writing. Every time you feel tempted to check their social media, remember, you are not a shadow chasing someone who does not see you. You are light, and light draws what belongs to it. Every time you think you must act quickly before you lose them, remember, faith does not chase. Faith stands firm, and standing firm is strength. It is courage. It is character. Scripture says in Psalm 46:10, "Be still and know that I am God." This is not a suggestion, it is a command. God is saying to you, stop striving, stop forcing, stop fearing. Let me be God in this situation. You are not lacking. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared for something only God can produce, a return that is sincere, voluntary, spirit-led, and anchored in real transformation. And when that moment comes, you will know. It will not be driven by pride, panic, or loneliness. It will be the fulfillment of a divine promise. Because when God orchestrates a reunion, no human can interrupt it. When God stirs a heart, no resistance can silence it. When God sets a time, nothing can delay or accelerate it. This is your moment to step into spiritual maturity. Stop forcing and start trusting. Stop worrying and start resting. Stop chasing and start preparing. You are not losing anything by letting go of control. You are making room for God to move. If this prophetic word resonates with your spirit, declare your alignment openly. Type 777 I choose faith in the comments as a sign of agreement with what God is doing in your life. And if you want this message to reach others who need the same breakthrough, like, share, and subscribe, because we are stepping into a season of awakening together. You have been noticing signs, strange repetitions, sudden reminders, moments that feel too precise to be random. And whether you admit it or not, these synchronicities have been stirring your spirit. Every time their name appears in a place that makes no sense, every time a song tied to your story plays at the exact moment they cross your mind, every time numbers like 1111 or 222 flash before you, something inside you whispers, this means more than coincidence. And you're right. These synchronicities are not accidents. They are signals. They are God's language. They are spiritual markers designed to get your attention and reassure your soul that something is moving behind the scenes. Mysterious repetition is one of the oldest ways God speaks. He used repeated dreams with Joseph, repeated visions with Samuel, and repeated signs with Gideon. And now, the repeated signs in your life are pointing to something. He is aligning something you cannot yet see, but can unmistakably feel. These signs intensify not because you are desperate, but because heaven is active. The spiritual realm moves first, and physical reality follows. What feels like random reminders is actually confirmations that God is working simultaneously in two hearts, not just one. C. S. Lewis once wrote in The Great Divorce that the deepest movements inside the human soul often appear as interruptions we did not ask for but cannot ignore. He described them as the voice that calls us out of our small selves into something eternal. That is exactly what these synchronicities are doing. They are pulling you out of panic and into purpose, out of fear and into faith, out of the illusion that you must act and into the truth that God is already acting. Lewis also emphasized that when people try to run from the uncomfortable truth, the truth does not disappear. It follows them, confronts them, and eventually demands to be faced. And that is happening to the person you are connected to. The same signs that bring you comfort are causing them confusion. The same reminders that strengthen your faith are disrupting their attempts to move on. While you interpret these synchronicities as confirmation, they interpret them as disturbance because they are resisting what God is awakening. That resistance is not rejection. It is evidence that something deeper is happening. When God begins to work on a heart, that person will feel it before they understand it. They will dream about you without wanting to. They will think about you at hours that feel inconvenient. They will encounter your name, your memory, your presence in places they cannot explain. This is not psychological longing. This is spiritual disruption. It is the Spirit of God breaking through their walls, their pride, their distractions, and you are witnessing the outer signs of that inner battle. But synchronicities are not just about them. They are also about you. Every sign you see is meant to do three things: strengthen your faith, redirect your focus, and quiet your fear. Synchronicities appear most when God needs you to be still so he can finish his work. They are not invitations for you to take action. They are confirmations that heaven is taking action for you. They are reminders that what you feel is not one-sided, that the connection is not imagined, and that your spirit is picking up movements taking place in a realm deeper than logic. You must understand this clearly. You are not misreading the signs. You are not imagining the pull. You are not overthinking. Your spirit is responding to what God is constructing. Synchronicities appear with intensity when timing is shifting. They come when a heart is softening, when circumstances are aligning, when God is preparing the moment in which he will allow a breakthrough to manifest. They come because God wants you to know, I am working. I have not forgotten. What I started, I will complete. These signs also serve another purpose, one that many overlook. They test your posture. When you see these signs, do you panic and try to chase? Or do you trust and remain still? Do you interpret them as pressure to act, or as reassurance that God is acting? Synchronicities are not prompts for movement, they are confirmations for surrender. They appear most clearly when God is doing something delicate, something that requires you to step back so he can step forward. And the more significant the work he is doing in the other person, the stronger the signs become, because heaven amplifies what it wants you to pay attention to. Let this settle deeply. The signs are real because the connection is real. The connection is real because the purpose is real. And the purpose is real because God himself has placed his hand upon the story. Your role is not to chase, to fix, or to force. Your role is to discern, to trust, and to stay in alignment. And the signs you are seeing are God's way of saying, stay where I placed you. I am moving what you cannot move. There is a divine reason you have been instructed not to reach out, not to initiate, not to chase. This is not about withholding affection, acting distant, or playing emotional games. This is about aligning yourself with the work God is doing beneath the surface work that would be interrupted if you stepped in too soon. When you reach out first, you remove the pressure that God himself is applying to their heart. When you chase, you give them comfort that they have not earned. When you make the first move, you permit them to avoid the transformation they desperately need. And every time you rescue someone from the discomfort God is using to break their pride, you prolong the very healing you are praying for. This is why heaven is saying so clearly, Do not be the one to reach out. Not now. Not in your strength. Not from fear. When you initiate, the relationship shifts back into an old pattern, one where you carry the emotional weight, you bridge the distance, you repair what they have damaged, and you take responsibility for what is not yours. That is not love. That is imbalance. That is not partnership. That is survival. If they return because you chased them, they return unchanged. If they return because you made it easy, they return without conviction. If they return because you reached first, they return with their pride still intact. But when God compels them to reach out, something entirely different happens. Their walls break, their fear dissolves, their excuses collapse. They come not because you pulled them, but because God drew them. That is why you must not interfere. Your silence is not punishment, it is participation. Your stillness is not weakness, it is obedience. Your restraint is not rejection, it is strategy. Every time you resist the temptation to text, you are allowing God to continue the work He began in your heart. Every time you choose faith over impulse, you are reinforcing the spiritual boundary that forces them to confront what they tried to avoid. And every time you refuse to chase, you shift the dynamic from human effort to divine orchestration. Do not underestimate the weight of this moment. What feels like passive waiting is actually powerful positioning. What feels like inactivity is actually agreement with heaven. What feels like silence is actually creating space for breakthrough. Understand this clearly. God is not just preparing them to come back. He is preparing them to come back correctly. There is a difference between a return and a restoration. Anyone can return. Only God can restore. A return can be impulsive. A return can be emotional. A return can be temporary. But restoration requires change, humility, clarity, and surrender. And none of these qualities develop when you do the pursuing. They only emerge when God applies pressure in a way only God can. That is why you will not be the one to reach out. You would interrupt the lesson. You would soften the conviction. You would shorten the process. And you would settle for a version of this relationship that is beneath what God intends. The work God is doing in them requires your stillness, not your striving. It requires your patience, not your panic. It requires your faith, not your fear. So when the urge comes, do not text. When the anxiety rises, do not chase. When the loneliness whispers, do not break alignment. Because the one thing God will not allow is for you to build a future on an unhealed foundation. He is not protecting you from them. He is preparing them for you. While you wait, something sacred is happening inside you, something deeper than you realize, something more transformative than you can see from your current vantage point. God is not simply asking you to be still. He is shaping you in the stillness. He is strengthening you through restraint, refining you through patience, and maturing you through surrender. This season is not about inactivity. It is about inner construction. God is preparing you not only for the person you care about, but for the version of love He intends to place in your life, steady, healthy, reciprocal, and rooted in Him. You may feel like nothing is happening, but spiritually, everything is happening. God is reorganizing your identity so you no longer find your worth in someone else's responses. He is teaching you to stand in your value, instead of shrinking for the sake of acceptance. He is breaking patterns where you used to overgive, over-pursue, and overextend yourself to keep a connection alive. That version of you is being dismantled. You are no longer living from fear. You are being trained to live from fullness. This is why the waiting feels heavy. Transformation always feels heavy when you're inside it. But God is doing what only He can do. He is lifting the dependency from your spirit and replacing it with confidence, clarity, and emotional sovereignty. In this season, He is anchoring you so deeply in Him that you no longer feel the need to chase, force, or cling. You are being shaped into someone who can love powerfully without losing yourself. someone who can give freely without being drained, someone who can stand still without being shaken. God is also sharpening your discernment. He is teaching you to recognize the difference between attachment and purpose, between longing and leading, between desire and divine timing. Not everything your heart wants is what your spirit needs. This is why God is rewriting your inner landscape, so you will no longer confuse intensity with intimacy or availability with alignment. He is preparing you to choose love, not from fear of losing it, but from strength in knowing your worth. He is creating a version of you who does not crumble when someone distances themselves, who does not chase validation, who does not collapse under emotional pressure. This is spiritual strengthening. This is divine conditioning. And this is why you cannot rush the process. You are becoming someone who can sustain a healthy relationship without anxiety sabotaging it. You are becoming someone who can communicate with grace instead of desperation. You are becoming someone who can love without losing your foundation. You are being prepared for a love that requires maturity, not instability. And God will not place a blessing on a heart that cannot hold it yet. This is why the silence is necessary. In silence, you hear God more clearly. In stillness, you feel your emotions more honestly. In restraint, you confront parts of yourself that were hidden behind constant reaching. Those parts are now being healed. Those wounds are being addressed. Those insecurities are being uprooted. God is not just preparing your future. He is preparing your capacity. He is making sure you never again settle for crumbs, chase after uncertainty, or accept a connection that drains your spirit. His work in you is an act of protection and an act of elevation. By the time this story begins to shift, you will not be the same person you were when it broke or when it felt confusing. You will be steadier, wiser, fuller, and more aligned. And when the person returns, because they will, you will not meet them from a place of fear, but from a place of strength. This is what God is doing in you. He is making you whole, so you never again confuse love with survival. You are being built, refined, and restored for something far greater than you have imagined. While God is shaping you, He is simultaneously working in the one you are connected to, and His work in them is often far more disruptive, far more uncomfortable, and far more necessary than you realize. You may look at their life and assume they have moved on, forgotten, or replaced you, but appearance is not truth. Stillness is not healing. Silence is not freedom. Detachment is not resolution. What is happening inside them is far deeper than anything you can see from the outside. God is confronting them with everything they tried to escape, deny, or suppress. They may pretend they are fine, but God is not allowing their heart to settle. They may try to distract themselves, but no distraction satisfies. They may try to pursue new connections, but those connections fall flat, lack depth, and feel hollow compared to what they had with you. God is stripping away every counterfeit comfort so they can no longer run from the truth of what their soul recognizes, but their pride resists. They are experiencing the same synchronicities you are, but the impact on them is different. What comforts you convicts them. What reassures you disturbs them. What strengthens your faith exposes their avoidance. When you see their name, you feel confirmation. When they see yours, they feel interruption. This is not punishment, it is awakening. God is shaking them out of emotional sleep. They wake up at strange hours thinking about you, not because of nostalgia, but because God is stirring their heart in the quiet hours when their defenses are down. They hear songs that once connected you, and instead of warmth, they feel an ache they cannot ignore. They try to rationalize these moments as coincidences, but God continues pressing, revealing, exposing, and confronting. He is dismantling every wall they built to protect themselves from vulnerability. He is breaking the patterns that once allowed them to run from intimacy. He is removing the false strength of pride and replacing it with the discomfort of truth. And truth is a powerful teacher. Truth makes them remember the way you loved. Truth makes them realize what they lost. Truth makes them acknowledge what they denied. Truth makes them face the parts of themselves they avoided when they were with you. And God will not let them escape this internal reckoning. They feel the absence of your presence, your stability, your grace. They compare every new interaction to you, not because they want to, but because the Spirit keeps highlighting the difference between connection and convenience, between meaning and distraction. God is dismantling their illusions. He is showing them that you are not a phase, not a temporary chapter, not a moment of emotion. You are purpose, assignment, alignment, and every attempt they make to fill the void only amplifies the truth. Nothing else works. Nothing else fits. Nothing else reaches them the way you did. They may act indifferent, but inwardly they feel pressure building. They may appear composed, but internally their certainty is collapsing. They may present confidence, but in the quiet moments they cannot escape the ache God placed in their spirit. And while you are learning to stop chasing, they are learning to stop running. God is breaking their patterns of avoidance. He is removing their escape routes. He is disrupting their comfort zone. He is stripping away the false identities they used to hide behind. This is not a gentle process. It is a necessary one. It must happen so they can return not as the person who left, but as the person they were meant to become. They are being humbled. They are being softened. They are being awakened. Every sign they see is a reminder of what they tried to let go of but cannot release. Every dream they have is a mirror showing them the truth they avoided. Every unshakable thought of you is God knocking on the door of their heart, urging them to move, to admit, to change. And when this breaking is complete, something powerful happens. The desire to reach out overcomes their pride. The longing to reconnect overcomes their fear, and the conviction to act overcomes their hesitation. They will pick up their phone with trembling hands. They will type and delete and type again. They will rehearse words they never dared to say. And eventually, they will reach out not because you chased, but because God finished His work in them. They will return not from impulse, but from transformation, not from loneliness, but from revelation. They will come back because they finally understand what they almost lost and who you truly are. God's timing is never random, never careless, never rushed. It operates in layers, deep, intentional, interconnected layers that unfold with precision. And until all three layers are complete, God will not release the next step. This is why forcing things never works. This is why chasing backfires. This is why waiting is not weakness but wisdom. Divine timing is not a single moment. It is a structure designed to protect the blessing and the people involved. The first layer is the work God is doing in you. This is the foundation. You are being strengthened, clarified, healed, recentered, and elevated. You are being freed from emotional dependence, trained in spiritual discernment, and anchored in identity so that your heart no longer bends under pressure. God is preparing you to receive love without losing yourself, to give love without draining your soul, and to stand in love without fear dictating your decisions. Without this transformation, you would repeat old patterns, respond to old wounds, and rebuild the same broken dynamic. God is ensuring that when restoration comes, you will meet it from a place of emotional strength, not emotional survival. The second layer is the work God is doing in them. This is the breakthrough layer. God is confronting their pride, their avoidance, their old patterns, and their fear of vulnerability. He is dismantling their illusions, stripping their excuses, and awakening a courage they have never accessed. He is pressing into their spirit until they cannot deny what they feel, cannot outrun what they know, and cannot silence what God keeps resurfacing. They must reach the point where they choose you freely, willingly, humbly, not from loneliness or impulse, but from conviction and surrender. This layer takes time because true inner change is never shallow, never rushed, never cosmetic. It must break, rebuild, and realign. and God is patient enough to complete every step. The third layer is divine timing, the moment when God declares, "Now." This is the alignment layer. It is not just about emotional readiness, it is about spiritual synchronization, external circumstances, and the positioning of both hearts. You may be ready before they are. They may feel the pull before you feel the peace. But God waits until both hearts, both journeys, and both destinies arrive at the same intersection. Divine timing is when the internal work in you and the internal work in them converge into a moment that cannot be mistaken, misinterpreted, or manipulated. This is why you cannot rush the process. If you force the connection before God releases the timing, you will step into a relationship that is unbalanced, unstable, and unsustainable. But when God releases his "now," everything flows naturally. Conversations open easily, apologies come sincerely, barriers fall gently. The connection feels guided rather than pressured, aligned rather than forced, peaceful rather than anxious, and you will know that only God could have orchestrated it. Remember this truth: God is not just preparing the blessing, he is preparing you to hold it, them to honor it, and the moment to sustain it. When these three layers meet, restoration becomes inevitable, not rushed, not fragile, not one-sided, inevitable. Before the moment arrives, before they gather the courage, before they pick up the phone, before they speak the words their heart has carried in silence, God will allow certain signs to surface, not to create anxiety, but to prepare your spirit. These signs are not random. They are indicators that something has shifted, that internal resistance is weakening, that breakthrough is moving from the unseen into the seen. One of the first signs is the sudden, undeniable reappearance of their name in places where it simply should not be. You may see it multiple times in one day, unexpectedly, unprompted, and with a frequency that feels almost impossible. It will not feel like a coincidence. It will feel like confirmation. This is God highlighting what is being stirred in their spirit and reflected into your awareness. The second sign is vivid, meaningful dreams. Not vague dreams, not scattered images, but dreams where you and this person speak, reconcile, or experience a sense of clarity and peace. These dreams are spiritual rehearsals, preparations in the unseen for a conversation that will eventually take place in the natural. Dreams are often how God softens your heart, removes fear, and aligns your emotions with his timing. They also signal that the emotional and spiritual connection between you and this person is active, not dormant. The third sign is unexpected mention. Someone may bring their name into a conversation. A mutual friend may reference them without realizing the significance. You may overhear something that connects back to them in a way that feels strangely intentional. These indirect signals act as bridges, reminders that God is positioning circumstances around you, weaving threads that lead toward eventual reconnection. The fourth sign is a deep, unexplainable peace. Not excitement, not nervousness, not emotional turmoil, but a quiet calm that settles over you when you think about them. This peace does not come from wishes or fantasies. It comes from alignment. It comes when your spirit recognizes that God is already moving and that the weight you once carried has been lifted from your shoulders. This peace is not logical, but it is reliable. It often arrives right before the breakthrough manifests, because God prepares the heart before he restores the connection. These signs do not appear to manipulate your emotions or push you into reaching out. They are the opposite. They are signals that you must stay still, stay grounded, and stay aligned, because God is completing his work. When these signs intensify, it means their resistance is weakening. Their walls are cracking, their pride is bending, their fear is dissolving, and their heart are turning toward you in ways they can no longer suppress. Each sign is a whisper. Get ready. And when the signs complete their cycle, the moment will come, the message, the call, the appearance, the breakthrough you did not force, because God Himself orchestrated it. When the moment arrives, it will not feel accidental or fragile. It will not resemble the confused, inconsistent patterns of the past. When they return, it will carry a weight, a clarity, a sincerity that cannot be fabricated. This is how you will know that God, not emotion, orchestrated the moment. Their message will not be casual or careless. It will not be a vague "hey" sent out of boredom. It will feel intentional. Their words may tremble, but the intention behind them will be unmistakable. They will reach out because they cannot escape what God